Welcome to this tutorial. In this video I'm going to speak and explain Kuhlau Sonatina Opus 20 number 1 in C major, and this is one of my favorite pieces of this genre because this is a very beautifully composed, beautifully written piece. It's full of joy and positive experiences, and even those dramatic events that happen here, for example in bar number 13 when we have a C minor. Sounds pretty dramatic, but nevertheless, although it sounds like a challenge, but nevertheless it sounds like a challenge we are ready for. So it doesn't really sound frightening. So overall, this piece is a very positive, full of spring mood, full of bright expectations, and so on. And I hope that after this lesson, you will love this piece even more than before. And I will do everything possible for that. So what I'm going to do in this video, I will go through the piece by sections. So I will analyze each particular section, each particular theme, explain typical issues, how to resolve typical issues, typical problems, and also on the way we'll share my ideas about how to make it sound interesting, how to make it sound vibrant and original. So we have C major, that's our principal key for this piece, pretty standard one. We have 4 beats, that's also quite standard, but it doesn't mean that the piece is standard. The piece is very interesting indeed. So from the very beginning, what we have to achieve in the first phrase, in the first 8 bars, is being able to build a longer phrase. So that's our ultimate goal, because if you would listen to that, we might notice that it sounds actually as a unity. It sounds like one long phrase. There is a lot of happenings, there is a lot of events here, a lot of articulation, musical rests, accents, a lot of stuff. But nevertheless, we should feel that it's a one big phrase. For that reason, I would start actually quite softly, and I would build that phrase toward the center of it, toward the bar 4, where you have this accented C. So that's the center of our phrase, and then we descend. So we have this kind of structure, this kind of dynamical development for the whole phrase. So in the right hand, we have 3 notes, 1 to 4 fingers, and I would use non-legato touch for that. It means I would disconnect my fingers, release my fingers slightly before hitting the next key. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. These repetitive notes, you might change fingers, so you might arrive to the 4th finger, and then you might start from the 4th finger again. 4, 3, 2, 1. Usually, it's recommended to change fingers when you have repetitive notes, just because if you play that with one finger, there is a risk that you might get tense and something might go not as smoothly as you want. So that's why changing fingers actually helps. But if you reach this kind of touch when you would be able to release your hand in between the sounds, you might also play that with one finger. That's not a problem. And actually for these repetitive notes, I would use not staccato, as it quite often played, but more like portato sound. Portato means that I would cushion the shock with my wrist in order to provide a warmer and slightly longer sound. So each sound has this length. Why I would prefer this sound? Because I want it to sound like a joyful expectation of some new experience. For example, when you're looking forward very much to start some travel, when you want to travel somewhere, and you really want that. That's exciting, and staccato doesn't really transmit that emotion. Staccato is a more colder one. It's like a steel. Staccato for me is like a steel, and I want something warm. I want some emotion here. That's why I would use portato actually in this case. Left hand, just a couple words about it. Actually, I have a special video about Alberti bass since recently, so you might look at this video if you have any problems with this kind of accompaniment. What is very important for Alberti bass is releasing all the fingers. So this is just one voice, and we have to transfer the weight of the hand from the fourth finger to the thumb completely. So just make sure that you don't stuck in the bass note. You might also learn that first with two leaning points. So lean toward the 1, 2, 3, 4. So leaning on the stronger beats here. Then another learning strategy that is very useful here is disconnecting the first note and start and learn that from the second eighth note. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And you try to speak them. In order to make them alive as well. But trying to avoid any accents. So this Alberti bass, this accompaniment is just a background that should be much softer than the melody, of course, and very quiet, like a clock. Always neutral. So although we have some development in the right hand, left hand doesn't follow our right hand, it just creates a background. So after we have reached crescendo, and we have to make crescendo all the way to here, releasing the wrist after this short note, release, and lean properly toward this accented note and use gravity in order to provide this accent. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that's one movement. So we go very deeply in the keyboard on the accent. Our wrist goes lower, following the finger. And then that's one movement. Down, up. It's very important to provide, whenever you have this descending seconds, a longer note, especially if there is an accented note, and then a descending second is always played on diminuendo. That's a very important rule that would benefit your musicality a lot. And then we have the Sanjin Phrases. So this is the strongest one. That's a slightly weaker one. That's the weakest one. So we have to calculate all that, providing a crescendo toward the bar 4 and diminuendo toward the end of the phrase. And actually, the phrase kind of finishes here, but other two bars, these ones, it's like the phrase "you're welcome." When I play this phrase, or when I hear this ending of the first phrase of the first theme, I always hear that in my mind. I don't know why. It's like "you're welcome," no problem. So you see, this music always speaks to me, and I try to find some meaning in these phrases. And for that one, for this phrase, is very important. Play those notes on one movement, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, and then 4, 2, 1, 3. So we break that into groups. That's group number 1. That's group number 2, 4, 2, 1, 3 fingers, and then the last group, 4, 2, 4, 1. So there are a lot of passages that have some curves, that have some turns, and in order to learn them better, of course, it's reasonable to break them in groups. So 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, release the hand. 4, 2, 1, 3, release the hand. 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1. And then still breathing with your wrist between those groups, and avoiding any possible accents, of course. And the last very important tip, avoiding accents on the strong beats in bars 5 and 6. So that's a very dear, very cheerful phrase, a very warm one, and very welcoming one. That's why we would avoid playing it like with accents on the strong beats. It would ruin the beauty of this music. That's why we would use tenuto on the shorter note. So both of these notes are important, and we don't play any accents here. There is just one accent in bar number 4, and then so always elaborating with your wrist and with your elbow for that.